received. Any other discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Actually, before I go any further, I want to recognize that we have a new commissioner with us, Council Lady Gamble. Welcome, and we're glad to have you with us for the next couple of years.
Looking forward to working with you all.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Your predecessor is trying to sneak in the corner. All right, sorry, out of order. The next item is the approval of the September 28th minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review? Do I have a motion to approve? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries. The next item is a recognition of our council members, and I am most definitely still learning the new faces. So we'll just call them in the order that we've seen you come in, and you can speak now or wait and speak when your item comes forward. First is Councilman Gregg.
Hello, Commissioners. Happy to be with you today. I'm here for item 24A, which is the cancellation of a PUD, and item 24B, which is a zone change. I'm supportive of these changes. The area along Royal Parkway is rapidly changing. When the current structures were built, the current office structures were built, it was mainly undeveloped land. This has become a centric hospitality corridor to the airport because of its proximity, and I view the zone change as positive. I do feel we have ample office space, and I view this as an opportunity to meet demand, so I hope you'll consider the support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Councilman Horton, and welcome to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to speak with you for the first time as a council member. I spent the last several months through the August 3rd, before that, I'm here for item 21, the West Nashville Community Plan Amendment. I spent the last several months through the August 3rd election speaking with over 1,000 residents of the Charlotte-Robertson neighborhood about their plans and their goals and aspirations for the neighborhood. During this time, I was impressed by the significant consensus that exists on key priorities for the neighborhood, such as a desire for more neighborhood amenities as well as for greater walkability. This community plan amendment delivers on many of these key priorities. One of the most significant aspects of this community plan amendment is the expansion of neighborhood-scale mixed-use opportunities for the Charlotte-Robertson neighborhood. Most of the area covered by the plan amendment currently only permits residential development, although there are limited existing uses. This plan amendment builds on those existing amenities and encourages neighborhood-scale uses to create a sense of place and continuity for the neighborhood. The creation of more neighborhood amenities also serves another important neighborhood goal of greater walkability by allowing residents to meet more of their daily needs on foot. Residents also express a frequent desire for greater traffic calming, safety measures, and sidewalks, especially on Robertson and its offshoots, which is a congested and often dangerous corridor. The additional uses permitted by the policy change could result in greater residential and other growth, such that would justify street improvements such as traffic calming, as well as make private sector-led projects that include sidewalk expansion more likely to occur. It is also important to note some of the residents' concerns raised by the plan amendment. One notable such concern is the potential increase in traffic that could occur if there is a large increase in the number of residents living in the affected area, who would likely need to use Robertson Avenue, already a congested street, for ingress and egress to the neighborhood. While an increase in the number of residents would result in new additional daily trips to the neighborhood, the presence of mixed uses may also have a countervailing effect by allowing residents to instead meet some of their daily needs on foot as the area transitions from an entirely car-dependent neighborhood. Another significant neighborhood concern is the potential loss of control for the neighborhood over new developments compared to the current process of addressing zonings and developments by SPs, which affords the neighborhood a significant degree of control over both the shape, conditions, and existence of new developments. This concern can be addressed by the district council person, myself, continuing to take a collaborative approach with community groups and deferring to the neighborhood on potential rezonings, although it is possible that a future council member down the road may not continue to take that approach. So thank you for taking the time to consider this important policy amendment for our community, as well as weighing each of these significant considerations when making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Councilman Spain. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon regarding item number 11 on your agenda, which is the renaming of 4 segments of Old Harding Pike along Highway 100. This process began with my predecessor, Councilman Rosenberg, at the request of emergency services in the interest of public safety, because right now calling 911 and saying you're on Old Harding Pike near Highway 100 is equivalent to saying you're on Old Hickory Boulevard. Doesn't really narrow it down that much. There are, in addition to these 4 stretches, there are 10 intersections of Highway 100 with Old Harding Pike. So in addition to the Planning Commission's process, Councilman Rosenberg also initiated public meetings, virtual meetings with the residents of these areas and asked for their feedback, explained the situation, and asked them what they wanted these roads to be called. They reconvened with those residents a few weeks later, and that the names you see on these segments are the result of those conversations. And just to illustrate that this isn't an entirely theoretical discussion, just a couple of days ago on Tuesday, there was an emergency at the Holy Trinity Montessori School, which is on, I believe, segment 2 that we're discussing. And it took the ambulance nearly half an hour to find them, just because they had a hard time figuring out their exact location. So, you know, this is a hassle for the residents. It's a pain, and we all appreciate that. But I appreciate their willingness to engage in this process and go through it in the name of public safety. And I hope you'll give it favorable consideration. I apologize if I have to run out before you actually get to it, because I have a public meeting starting at 5. But I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Where did the name Pink Tower Road come from?
I wish I could tell you. Most of them are related to old property owners in the area, but I'm not sure about that.
Oh, yeah.
But I do know there's no pink tower there.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Any further council people here? No. Okay. Thank you very much. The next item is the list of items for deferral or withdrawal. So, Lisa, that's you today. Lucky you.
Hello, yes, Amelia is on a much-deserved vacation. She's been handling this for us, so I will be handling it today. Commissioners, the following items are for deferral or withdrawal, starting on page 3 of your agenda. Item number 2, 2023Z003TX001, Downtown Code Bonus Height Program Text Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the June 27th, 2024 meeting. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 6, 2023S110-001, subdivision for Elaine Zimmer. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. Item number 7, 2023S112-001, Oakwood Preserve. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2023S123-001, Frankie Lee Moore. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2023Z066PR001, a rezoning on Monticello Drive. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 15, 2023Z078PR001, staff rezoning on Bridgeway Avenue. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. That is an update since the last time that we printed the agenda. Item number 17, 2023Z092PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the December 14th meeting. Item number 18, 2023Z093PR001. It's a rezoning on Ligon Avenue. Staff recommendation is to withdraw. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 19, 2023Z096PR001, a rezoning on Bridgeway Avenue. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. Item number 22, 2022 SP 077001. It's a rezoning request on Dickerson Pike. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting. Item number 23, 2023 SP 077001, 1520 Hampton Street. Staff recommendation is to defer to the December 14th meeting. And on page 8 of your agenda, item number 25, 2023Z 095PR 001, a rezoning on Buena Vista Pike. Staff recommendation is to defer to the November 9th meeting.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to read these back to you because I think you added a couple, but let me make sure. Items for deferral or withdrawal include item 2, item 6, item 7, item 8, item 13, item 15, item 17, item 18, 19, 22, 23, and 25.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, you have the list of items for deferral. Do I have a motion to approve? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, so items are deferred. The next item is the consent agenda.
As information, start on just a second. Items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. I will read through all of the items that are scheduled for consent, and I will ask if there's anyone here in opposition to the item. If so, please raise your hand. If we have anyone that is here in opposition, then the item will be heard in the order on which it appears on the agenda. Item number 1, 2023 someone's already asked for that one to be pulled. Sorry. Item number 1 will be presented. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 3, 2023 SP 057001, 611 Cowan Street. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 3? Item number 3 will be on consent. Item number 4, 2023 SP 070001, 206 North First Street Hotel. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 4? Item number 4 will be on consent. Item number 5, 2023 SP 075001 Cato Road Acres. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 5? Item number 5 will be on consent. Page 5 of your agenda, item number 9, 2023 S 149001, subdivision of the LSP Jakes property. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 9? Item number 9 will be on consent. Item number 10, 2023 DTC 025001, 1100 Porter Hotel. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 10? Item number 10 will be on consent. Item number 11, 2023 M003SR001, renaming of 4 segments of Old Harding Pike. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 11? Item 11 will be on consent. Item number 12, 2023 Z061PR001, a rezoning on Jefferson Street. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 12? 12 will be on consent. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 14, 2023 Z088PR001, a rezoning on Kings Lane. Is there anyone here in opposition to item 14? 14 will be on consent. 14 will be presented. Okay. Item number 16, 2023 Z090PR001, a rezoning on Ashton Avenue. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 16? 16 will be on consent. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 20, 2023 Z097PR001, a rezoning on River Drive. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 20? 20 will be on consent. Item 21 will be presented as an update. Item number 24A, 4683P005, Metro Airport Center PUD cancellation, and the associated case 24B 2023Z 100PR001 rezoning on Royal Parkway. Is there anyone here in opposition to items 24A and 24B? Those items will be on consent. And item 26, 2023Z 098PR001, a rezoning on Glengarry Drive. Is there anyone here in opposition to item number 26? 26 will be on consent. Chair, I'm going to go through and read all of the captions now. I'm sorry? 25 was deferred. Yes. Correct. Thank you. Okay. As information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. The following items are on the consent agenda. On page 4, item number 3, 2023 SP 057001, 611 Cowan Street. It's a request to rezone from IG to SP for properties located on Cowan Street to permit a hotel and retail uses. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 4, 2023 SP 070001, 206 North First Street Hotel. It's a request to rezone from MUG to SP for properties located on North First Street to permit a mixed-use development with non-residential uses. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 5, 2023 SP 075001 Cato Road Acres. It's a request to rezone from RS15 to SP for properties located on Cato Road to permit two-family residential units and 1 single-family residential unit for a total of 5 units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9, 2023 S 149001, subdivision of the LSP Jakes property. It's a request for final plat approval to create 2 lots on property located on Morgan Road. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, include variances to sections 425A1A, A1B, and A1C. Item number 10, 2023 DTC 025001, 1100 Porter Hotel. It's a request for overall height modification for property located on Grundy Street to permit a mixed-use development. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 11, 2023 M003 SR001, renaming of 4 segments of Old Harding Pike. It's a request to rename segment 1 from Old Harding Pike to Smith Farm Road, segment 2 from Old Harding Pike to Pink Tower Road, segment 3 from Old Harding Pike to Linton Lane, and segment 4 from Old Harding Pike to Old Harding Grove. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 12, 2023 Z061PR001. It's a request to rezone from CS to MULANS for properties located on Jefferson Street. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number, on page 6 of your agenda, item number 16, 2023 Z090PR001. It's a request to rezone from RS10 to R10 for property located on Ashton Avenue. Staff recommendation is to approve. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 20, 2023 Z097PR001, a request to rezone from RS10 to R10 for property located on River Drive. Staff recommendation is to approve. And on page 8 of your agenda, item number 24A, 4683P005, Metro Airport Center PUD cancellation. It's a request to cancel a planned unit development for properties located on Royal Parkway. Staff recommendation is to approve. And item 24B, 2023 Z100P001. It's a request to rezone from CS to MULNS for property located on Royal Parkway. Staff recommendation is to approve. And item number 26, 2023 Z098PR001. It's a request to rezone from RS15 to R15 for property located on Glengarry Drive. Staff recommendation is to approve. And under other business, item number 27, a new employment contract for Brett Withers and a contract amendment for Amelia Lewis. Item number 28, a new contract with Interval LLC for Missing Middle Tennessee Housing Policy Review. Item number 29, adoption of the 2024 Planning Commission calendar. Item number 30, bonus height certification memo for 901 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And item number 35, to accept director's report.
Thank you. I'm going to read this back to you in 1 minute. I'm wondering if you want to, is there anything you want to say about the calendar to make commissioners aware?
Yes, so that was sent out to you previously. For the past several years, we have had one meeting in July and one meeting in August, sort of in recognition of sometimes the difficulties in get those meetings scheduled. However, we have found that our first meeting in October, every year falls on fall break, and it is more difficult to manage that, given that you all are volunteers, and that many have school-age children. And so for the calendar this year, we looked at the dates and we compared it to school calendars, both public and private, and we are going to be reverting back to 2 meetings in August and going to 1 meeting in October so that we can avoid fall break. So we think that that is the most productive thing, and that it will help us to ensure that we always have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. It's hard to think about October of 24, but
Yes.
worth
Yes.
talking about that. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of the consent agenda items, I think I hopefully have this right. Item number 3, item 4, item 5, item 9, item 10, item 11, item 12, item 16, item 20, items 24A and 24B, item 26, item 27, item 28, 29, 30, and 35. Is that correct? Okay, commissioners, we have a lengthy consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. And welcome to the newest planning department employee. It's good to have you back in our meetings. Okay, so with that, I think the 3 items we're hearing tonight are items 1, item 14, and item 21.
And Vice Chair, I did notice that Councilmember Coopin walked in. I'm not sure if he wanted to have any comments, but I did want to just let you know, just in case.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I can ask him. Councilman, do you want to, you're good. Okay. Thank you. All right, so we'll get started with item number 1. Sorry, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's start with item number 1.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Anita McKeag with the Community Plans Team, and I'll be presenting the Couchville Pike Study Plan Amendment. So this area is, of course, east of the airport and west of Percy Priest Lake and north of Murfreesboro Pike between I-24 and Interstate 40. And it's approximately 1,400, a little over 1,400 acres. So staff recommendation is to approve the change in land use policies along with the supplemental policy. The current policy is District Employment Center. That's what you see on your screen in the brown. And District Employment Center envisions a place when you think about like Metro Center, it's a mixed business area, but it can be quite intense with warehousing, offices, different commercial. And so this policy was piloted in 2012 with the Antioch Priest Lake Plan update, but in the subsequent years, it proved difficult to implement. And so it was on a list for us to study, but then also in 2021, Councilmember Porterfield asked us to study the area too, as she was getting a lot of questions about area rezonings. And the objective was to determine a more predictable land use policy, a policy direction that provides more certainty about future development proposals and what to expect. So if you look at the pattern today, it's a lot of large, irregular residential lots in the north and in the south and on the eastern edges and the western edges. And then in the center are some large warehouse uses south of Couchville Pike. So for community participation, you know, we've heard from residents over time coming to Planning Commission and reaching out to staff. We also, this summer, hosted 2 community workshops, and what we heard at those workshops was a desire for residential streets to remain residential in use. There are a lot of concerns about inadequate infrastructure, especially north of Couchville Pike, which is in the GSD and currently lacks sewer. There's a lot of tree cover natural features that are important to people. There's a lot of history here going back decades. Residents have concerns about additional heavy trucks driving too fast on their streets, and that being sandwiched between the airport and the interstates is causing more construction traffic and blasting gravel, concrete trucks and things on the streets. There's a real desire too for industrial uses to be limited to the south of Couchville Pike and not cross over Couchville Pike to the north. So here you can see the areas of tree cover. You can see what the airport pattern means there. And so one of the first things we took a look at was what is the existing zoning today? And the land use pattern breaks down a lot along the lines of current zoning. So you see residential areas in orange and industrial areas in blue. And then through the study and through the community workshops, here's how we arrived at policies, and I'm going to go over these in more detail. Let's zoom in some. So a chunk of the area is recommended for suburban neighborhood evolving. That's the beige and tan color. When you look at the areas in the north, that includes Pleasant Hill Road here, Pulley Road running east-west. When you look in the south, that includes Smith Springs Road running east-west, Ned Shelton running along the studies boundary on the east, Una Recreation Road in the middle, and Reynolds Road toward the western edge. And then district industrial policy, here's Couchville Pike, and so you can see the blue area south of Couchville Pike, and then along a line close to the airport here. There's also a band of suburban neighborhood center along the north side of Couchville Pike in orange. Different people requested some different applications of a non-residential policy along the north side of Couchville Pike, but there were a lot of differing opinions. And so to balance those opinions, we arrived at this line of neighborhood center here that would allow for some small-scale neighborhood serving uses in addition to residential. So we've got 2 secondary study areas. One of them is along the south side of Couchville Pike, which is here in the blue. Since this is running along the south side of Couchville Pike and is adjacent to the airport property, we're recommending district industrial policy for this one. The second area is north of Pulley Road, the north side of Pulley Road, which is up here. Since it is running along Pulley Road, which is a local street, Couchville Pike is an arterial boulevard, Pulley Road is residential in use and a local street. We're recommending that it be residential policy, here it is again, to align with what the uses are along Pulley Road today. As you can see, for a non-residential use to happen in this area, you would have to travel along in front of residences to go west or to go east. And then today, that area is currently agricultural and residential zoning and is either vacant or housing. And so that's an area where we're also hearing some difference of opinion today as well. So future projects that have caused a bit of uncertainty in decades prior and continue to do so, the Harding Place Extension Project, you can see the acquired right-of-way here with the white areas. You know, this has been on the books since the 1980s and is planned to be a limited access connector between Interstate 24 and Interstate 40. However, when we met last year with TDOT and NDOT and the airport expansion and the continued expansion of the airport is going to cause the need for this to move further east to an uncertain location. And so that study is, a few years away. And so we need to study that to see what the best layout for that street is. And the second uncertainty is the airport, as we all know, continues to increase and expand, increase in ridership and expand. And so they are planning a new eastern runway along here that will impact part of the study area as well. So they've got that on the books. However, more detailed planning for that is going to come in 2025, and there will be public meetings as part of that. And so what we've heard from residents and property owners in this study is that they've been hearing about those two projects for several decades. And so they wanted to continue to either live or work in the area and have uses much like it is today. And so because of that, that's why we have the policy as it is outlined, with the caveat that it can change as those infrastructure projects come on board. Because of the limitations in infrastructure today, we're recommending, and the adjacency to the airport, we're recommending that there be a supplemental policy for the residential areas that limits the density of those to single and two family to continue the lot pattern like it is today. And so as such, noting that the density will remain lower than in other neighborhood evolving areas. In this case, we put neighborhood evolving policy here instead of maintenance due to that irregular lot pattern and the sentiment to preserve the natural features, natural resources and everything. So because of all that, we recommend approval of the policy changes and the supplemental policy.
Great, thank you. We'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Since Metro is the applicant, we'll go right into hearing from folks who are in support of this policy change. Anybody here speaking in support? Okay, if not, we'll go into those opposing this item. And you'll have 2 minutes. Please start with your name and address.
Clay Faircloth. I live at 2578 Pulley Road, and I also have an interest in a couple of other properties down in this area that will be changing based on the neighborhood evolving. So we've got a lot of different issues here. The first and foremost is that the airport's growing at a remarkable rate. We all know the traffic. We've all seen it. We see Donaldson Pike moving. We also see the airport folks building something, a road. They tell me that they're filling in the low spots. But for 20 years, they've been filling in the low spots so that they can get gravity fall for a future sewer line to develop that whole area that it sounds like we're going to be having some neighborhood meetings about in a couple of years. But they've been already working on that. They're building that now. That's where Harding Place will come through and connect to 40 right after they finish the Donaldson Pike and we get the money from the federal government to continue the growth that Nashville's experiencing. We'll do that. If you guys are familiar with the state law, the House bill was 1178, I believe, or 1176, and the Senate bill was 1112. Both of those laws started July 1st, and it changed not just the board makeup, not just how they're selected, but it also changed how the airport can do eminent domain. So not only do they have the ability to do eminent domain, but they now have in the law, if you do the comparisons of the two from the former to the new, if the airport borders more than 50% of your property, which it does both of mine, then it has to have no reason whatsoever to go in and take that property from me. Not only did it change that language, but it also added language to the new bill that allows the airport to then decide if they don't want to use that land for whatever purpose that they deem, they can then either resell it or lease it for airport operations. Read the law before you vote on these things, because it's changing the value of my property completely, and that's negligence on y'all's part, it's negligence on the city's part, not having the infrastructure in place in this area to support the developments that have already been approved for the last 20 years. There's a rock quarry over there, tons of warehousing, and there's no roads. The safety of the roads, Bell Road, Couchville Pike, these are dangerous roads, and it's negligence on the city's part.
Thank you very much. Others speaking in opposition? You want to come forward?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Rusty Russ. I'm with the Stevens Group. I live at 3410 Hobson Pike in Hermitage. I represent one of the other owners here, Mitchell Whitson. He owns a property right as you come off going on back over towards 2152 Smith Springs Road. Adjacent to him is a rock quarry to the left that has constant flow of trucks, and they grind concrete all day long. In the rear, there's 10 other big warehouses and industrial sites to the rear of him. So we've had a couple of offers from industrial users, and we had heard that they might go to like an R9 zoning on this site. And R9 zoning would put like 531 units on his site, and that's 2.3 people per unit. You're looking at 1,220 cars a day coming out on the Smith Springs Road, which Smith Springs Road is not adequate right now. We've got sewer on our site, but we don't know how much is available. We don't know how much water. So for it to go to a higher density residential, that's not, possible. And he's had offers at 18 million, 10 million on part of it, different offers like that. So to take him to a residential zoning just completely crushes the value of his property. Plus, there's not enough road. There's only one entrance and one exit onto that road without going to a residential subdivision, which nobody wants 500 cars or 600 cars going through part of their subdivision. So we were not even aware this was happening until day before yesterday. Nobody in the neighborhood got notice. So at minimum, this needs to be delayed and everybody in the neighborhood get notice to where they can, come and speak for their property.
Okay, thank you very much. Others speaking in opposition? Hi.
Would you mind if I said?
No, it's fine.
Okay, good afternoon, Planning Commissioners. Patrick Napier, 710 Frida Villa, Madison, Tennessee, 37115. I did request 5 minutes previously. I hope that was received.
We know you know the rules.
It was, but we aren't able to grant you 5 minutes. The 5 minutes is if you're representing a community organization.
Okay, I was hoping the complexity of the request
No,
might.
sorry.
Okay, I will try to keep
But I
this.
will restart your 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I will try to pare this down then. My apologies. All right. Davidson County needs industrial land, and we need it here. So within the policy study amendment area, I believe the locational criteria makes this ripe for industrial policy. As we look at this area adjacent to the airport, within 2 miles of I-40, 3.5 miles of I-24, we have an arterial that bisects this east to west. We have the ability to drive traffic out of the neighborhood, along Pulley, along Couchville, turn it down to Murfreesboro, which gets you then to Donaldson Pike and onto the airport. Bell Road is a state road. The smallest cross-section of Bell Road is 73 feet in right-of-way. It would not be difficult for TDOT to expand that should that be folded into some of their future plans. We have a road network that can support industrial use here. I know that the growth comes with some growing pains if we were to transition from residential to industrial. And hopefully some of those pains would be temporary and not permanent for residents should this area transition in that manner. I do have some concerns about the scope of the staff report. Just about, there was a section that talked about not seeing infrastructure with development, but Air Park East, which composes 21% of the entire area, installed its own public sewer to serve the public roads. It gives you a sewer connection at Couchville Pike, installed over 9,000 lineal feet of sidewalk. They also put in regional stormwater detention facilities. They are very entitled for more industrial property than you see here. It will continue to operate. It will continue to put additional truck traffic. Their current entitlement, you would see likely 1 million plus more square feet of industrial use under their current entitlement. One other area of concern is that area of Pulley Road. I think for a life safety concern, putting residential policy adjacent to the airport is the wrong direction. Everything else I understand, but I think we should place industrial policy for Pulley Road to the west of the airport. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking in opposition? Yes, please come forward. Have 2 minutes and start with your name. You'll have 2 minutes and start with your name and address.
Name is Mitchell Whitson, address 2148 Smith, Springs Road.
Hold on just a second, sir. Push the button. The microphone's not. Push the button for me.
Okay.
And turn the other one off if you don't mind, or it'll get feedback.
Good. It's Mitchell Whitson, my address 2148 Smith Springs Road. On the 2152 and all of Unirec, which is completely surrounded by industrial. And I'm the one Rusty was talking about a while ago. And because I've been there 40 years waiting on this thing to happen, and there ain't adequate sewer for residential in that area. But there is adequate sewer for the industrial. I was not told about the meeting, knew nothing about it until 2 days ago. I called Councilman, what's his name? Russ Bradford. And he said, well, he couldn't get everybody informed about it. But anyway, he also said he would have a email sent down here recommending to pull my property out of the group. I don't know if he did that or not. I assume not. I've got 59 acres here, and I've been there 40 years. I'd like to get rid of it and move on. Y'all approved the site next door for John Stevenson, and they've been over out blasting and dumping dirt, rock. I mean, I'm in a dust pit. I need to get out of here.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Anyone else speaking in opposition? If not, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. I am wondering, in light of the first comment that came up regarding the composition of the new law that was passed that impacts the airport authority and the development authority of the airport around eminent domain. I don't know if that's an item that we should touch on, since that was one of the things that the commenter raised. No, we'll turn to our counsel. Thank you.
I mean, what I can tell you is that our office is currently litigating the constitutionality of the board itself, and so that it's an influx area of law right now. So other than that, there's no guidance I can give you as to whether this would be impacted or not.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Did you close the public? Okay.
Yeah, I remembered. Okay, well, Commissioner Tibbs, I'm going to start with you.
I hit the wrong one, sorry. Let me ask Lisa, I'm sorry, not Lisa, but about the community meetings, I'm sorry. You're sitting right under the zeros there, so I can only see your eyes. I heard a couple of people brought that up. Do you mind just reiterating about the community meetings that were held?
Yes. So, anytime we work in an area, we send out notices to all the property owners. In this case, it was everyone within this 1,400 acres as well as a 1,300-foot buffer around. So that meant quite a few, over 1,000 notices, I know. Then we had 2 community meetings, and both council members Porterfield and Bradford then put it in newsletters and helped us get the word out. This case was deferred several times over the summer months as we were still getting input and people still wanted to hash out some things and talk more about some things. So it's been deferred several times. We had 80 people at the first workshop and 60-something at the second workshop.
Okay. I noticed there's a different council person now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And has she been brought up to date on everything with it?
Right. So so when we first started the study, it was split into 2 districts, mostly in Porterfield's district, and then north of Couchville Pike there was in Bradford's district. And then, as we all know, Councilmember Porterfield won for at-large, but ran for at-large and won. And then with the new council district boundaries, Councilmember Bradford now encompasses the whole area. So he was running as an incumbent unopposed. And so that allowed us to have that continuity of council members then. Okay. And the people who were running for Councilmember Porterfield's former district also participated in the process. So the newly elected council member.
Gotcha. So this is a change of policy, which, on first glance, I definitely understood the follow through of it all. And then, as long as, this sounds like there was community input into it and the council, it is, and this is notwithstanding the sewer infrastructure. This is strictly land use. But because of the proximity to the airport, I do see the I'll use the word issue of the needing good industrial area for the for internal Nashville, especially toward this area. So I do see that some of these parcels could possibly still have that, value, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I also, some of the other areas, I do agree with how we've re-looked at it. I got to take my glasses on and off. But, some of the parts that we're looking at for making it more apt for residential. I guess the part that is adjacent, maybe let me ask you a question on this. The philosophy on the parts that were close to the airport that were changed from industrial, because most of it kind of still is. Could you give some feedback on that part too? Maybe that's just up toward the northern part of it.
So I think there's several things at play. I think there's several things at play here. One is, that the district employment center, is that mixed business policy. It doesn't mean, industrial really. I mean, it's, right. So light industrial warehousing's okay, but it doesn't mean like full on industrial. So as we went into this, we heard frustration, like at the first community workshop, several members talked about that they've lived in the area, they were in their 70s and 80s, and they've lived there their entire lives, and 40 years ago, planners stood in front of them and said the same thing that we're saying today. The Harding Place extension is still to be determined, the airport expansion is still to be determined, and so they wanted to, be able to live there for the rest of their lives and have the kind of home they wanted. So I think that's key in that we're not saying that this place is an ideal location to build new multifamily, to build new, high growth housing, but that people, until some things are settled with the airport expansion and the Harding Place extension project, that there are some areas that people could continue to live there, and farm there and things. And so I think, it's key that too, in trying to balance what we heard, I mean, overwhelmingly, we heard the residents of Pulley Road, which is the street that those properties are on today, in the northern section there up here. Those residents, all said, we want this to remain residential. It's a local street. We don't want, heavy truck traffic on here. And today it's zoned agricultural and residential. And so that's the feeling of that, the sentiment of that. I think, that as the airport continues to expand and the Harding Place extension is very much needed to alleviate, we all know how bad the traffic is out here, to alleviate that concern, I think the policies can be revisited. And so we tried to make that clear with stakeholders, but at the same time, the flip side of that was, just as the gentlemen were talking about along Smith Springs Road, we had people along Smith Springs Road and Reynolds Road, which intersects to Smith Springs, exactly around that industrial development that they were referencing, beg us, please, no more, because the blasting and everything is just decimating their neighborhood right now. And so they wanted to pause on that for a moment. So I think in this case, we tend to think of, we hear things referenced like Nashville Next, and we tend to think of, the vision until 2040. Whereas I think a lot of times with community plans, sometimes that vision's 5, 7, 10 years out. And so I think that's what we're talking about here, is trying to find a more predictable policy outcome until the airport is ready to put their pen to paper for what that runway expansion really means to this area, and then determine, the state, the feds, how invested are they in that Harding Place extension project then.
Gotcha. With no other specifics, just that part I definitely commend we do that now. The city has changed so drastically after Nashville Next, the reevaluating these. I think that's kind of what we've been doing for the past year, a couple of years too. Okay, I'm going to continue to listen to the fellow commissioners.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, sometimes when we talk about policy change, and we are looking at the, properties and what the zoning is. So sometimes policy and zoning matches, and sometimes policy and zoning kind of conflict. So listening and reason behind this recommendation. And also, when we had Couchville rezoning or SP, especially south side, Couchville side, we heard over and over from the residents and neighbors, we want a neighborhood, we want to keep our neighborhood. So mixing those, I think a recommendation makes sense, because most unknown, very kind of uneasy thing is Harding Road extension, because I remember it has been talked about at least 20 years as far as I know, but nothing's happening. And it was like a regional plan to extend. And I think at one point there was some funding was discussed, but after funding was pulled off and expansion was put hold. So next, I don't see it's moving forward another, 5 to 7 years. It may take another decade or 2 decades. So considering those, what happened in the past and what will happen in the foreseeable future, seems, keeping industrial in the smaller area, and then south or north side of Couchville as a residential, but give some flexibility instead of maintenance, but having evolving. So we will have some flexibility in here. And I think what we need to consider is this is just policy recommendation. We are not encouraging zone change, because property owner can use property as they see fit. Current owner can, if they see fit to propose some new development, they can always bring that to our body or council member. And if the policy change is necessary to achieve those, whatever they want to achieve, they can ask for policy change as well when time comes. So I think uncertainty of the airport expansion and hiding extend, I think recommended a policy change make more sense. So I am in support of staff recommendation.
Thank you. Councilmember Gamble.
Thank you, Chair. A question, did this policy change review come as a result of the resolution that the council passed? Okay, this is separate, okay. Just wondered that the resolution that was passed last term mandated that about 10 sub-areas community plans be reviewed, and I wondered if this was a part of that. I tend to agree with Commissioner Johnson and Tibbs that it seems that this what's being recommended is in line with what the community concerns were, keeping the district industrial south of Couchville adjacent to the airport makes sense, and making the northern part of the area T3 neighborhood evolving to keep the neighborhood and the residential area that the community wants seems to be in line with what is being recommended here. And so I tend to agree with the recommendation here. And having that DI policy adjacent to the airport does allow for, I guess, concession, or allows for compromise in what happens with the airport moving forward. So for those reasons, I think we're moving in the right direction here.
Thank you. Commissioner Henley?
Thank you, Chair. I was looking through my notes, and some of the questions, or I should say comments that I had, have been made. I did want to ask the question of, when we look at what is this, 1,400 plus acres, it seems as though we're hearing now some conversation. It seems like one of the landowners that spoke in opposition had a request for their property to potentially be removed. Help me understand if this is similar or dissimilar to some of the changes that we do when there's so much road frontage or street frontage or properties in succession that are required in order to make some of those changes. Is that applied in a kind of community plan aspect here as well, in terms of not wanting to develop those kind of pockets, or, for lack of a better term, kind of missing teeth?
I think so. I mean, I think at heart here is that the property that they're talking about wanting to be removed, it's zoned residential today. And so I think that's an important thing. They'd still have to go through a rezoning.
That's good information. I mean, to me, as I see the recommendation, I look at applying neighborhood evolving again. It kind of allows and beckons the property owner to come and make specific requests to kind of align with what is best and able to react. I think it's a challenge because it's a large area with a lot of variables, and understand the difficulty that staff and, quite honestly, that community has to deal with the things that are happening there. I do, and I heard it, and I think it's important for us to really understand the importance of having industrial areas near our airport. I think my only maybe comment would be to really look at what that mixture and balance is. I know industrial as a sector is changing, just like all our office is probably one of the most burdened right now, but I think industrial as well is doing that. And so I do think, really thinking about traffic and travel patterns, and being mindful of what that means for the community. I recall back to some of the comments that we had about some of the proposals that were happening in this area, and like everywhere else, traffic was a big concern. And so I do think while we're looking to, be very deliberate with where we place industrial, I think also looking at the flow of traffic and how that might work with the infrastructure that is in place should be the fine-tooth comb there. But again, I think with what all is happening, with what we're experiencing in terms of growth there, and what's what we've had as far as feedback from the community members. I do think that with all that in hand, I think balancing a lot of things, I think this is something that works to kind of create the best kind of balanced solution with what we have.
Thank you. Commissioner Clifton?
I don't have anything to add that hasn't been said.
Okay. No, the public hearing is closed, so now it's just now the commissioner's deliberation. So, I'm going in, Commissioner Marshall.
Likewise, I agree with some of the comments that have already been made.
Oh.
Okay. The only question I would have, just for clarification, is going back to Councilman Council Lady Porterfield and Bradford. You said both of them were in agreement with this particular proposal that we have as it is. Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Leslie?
Thank you, Chair. Madam Chair. The only question I have is there was a reference to House Bill 1178 and Senate Bill 112. I would just like to know, I know it's in a state of right now, but I'm curious to know that if it were passed, if those bills were passed, how would it affect the policy that's been requested?
Okay, so let's take a step back. I might have been more confusing than I was helpful, and I apologize for that. It's a gift. The bill has passed, so the current law is actually in effect. And the current law gives the airport authority as it currently stands. That's what we're in litigation about. Who is the airport board right now? But it gives them authority as it stands, and I can read it to you. It's very convoluted: to acquire real or personal property or an interest in real or personal property by gift, lease, or purchase, or for an authority in a county having a metropolitan form of government with a population over 500,000, which is us, according to the 2020 federal census, to acquire by eminent domain proceedings for any of the purposes provided for in this chapter, including the elimination, prevention, or marking of airport hazards. So that's really, previously, that's what this sort of bill, and Lisa can speak to how the airport has been involved previously, but it was really focused on hazards to the airport, like them doing things that would prevent a hazard to the airport. But it does go on to say they can also sell, lease, or otherwise dispose of such property that they've taken as an airport hazard, and they can acquire real property or any interest in real property in areas most affected by aircraft noise for the purpose of resale or lease, subject to restrictions limiting its use to industrial or other purposes least affected by aircraft noise. I don't know what that means. So what this means is this is not something that's only applicable to their property. This is applicable to, we got a map, actually, the Metropolitan government did, and the airport is claiming the entirety of Davidson County. So I don't think that it impacts your decision today. I think it is a state law that's out there. I think it could change, but it is where it is now. And Lisa, do you want to just explain how the airport has gotten involved previously?
Sure. So there is currently what is called an airport impact overlay, which essentially is a zoning overlay that covers property sort of in a circle around the airport, and then it goes out from both sides, sort of if you think about flight zones around the airport. And generally, and they would be involved in decisions related to property development, primarily as it relates to height. That was what sort of was previously in place for airport involvement in sort of land use decisions, if you will. And it would really be at building permit phase, and it would really have to do with height of a building. There are also other areas outside of that overlay, downtown, for instance, where when you start to get buildings that are really tall, they're covered by federal regulations regardless of if they're in that area that the airport has identified through the zoning regulations. And so folks with those taller buildings are also in communications with the airport and federal regulations to make sure that if a tall crane is going up, that there's appropriate lighting so that they can be managed and there's not any conflicts. And so that was sort of the state of play of airport involvement in sort of land use decisions, but those were all around zoning. And what we're talking about today is a land use policy, not zoning. So it's sort of different, and the decision that you all made, like Tara said, I mean, the state law is in place. It's not really a factor sort of in your decision.
I was just trying to address the concern that the gentleman had about the two bills.
Yeah, I understand. And I hope that I helped in some ways, but I guess what you could take away from it is typically the concerns have always been hazards. I don't think we've ever had an instance where they've gotten involved over anything other than something like that. So.
Smith?
Thank you, Chair. Does this go to council, or does it stop with us? Okay. Apologies for thinking out loud for a second. So it seems like about 10 years ago, the DEC policy was put into place, hasn't quite materialized as maybe that was envisioned, with large lot residential, some light industrial warehousing. And we're thinking basically with the wishes of the residents to codify that, at least until we get some airport expansion, need a revisit. That makes sense. The only note I might have is if there was a way for anyone, staff us, to talk to landowners who are contiguous and have a desire to be in a different policy. I mean, is that possible at all? I mean, I know we had neighborhood outreach, but given that it seems like we've got several large landowners who are, apparently contiguous large industrial, would like to be industrial as a land use policy at least. Is that possible, or is that too late?
Well, I think anything is possible. I think then, though, you start the conversation of where does the balance come in, you know? And so I think that's what's tough. That's what's really tough with this one.
And they're currently residential, is that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Why does the public not able to speak again?
That's because we're done with the public hearing. And now it's time for the council, the commissioners to deliberate. If they have specific questions, they can ask. But we've had the opportunity for public input.
Your long-term plan was to be industrial
Sir, we will ask our staff if we have further questions. Do you have further comment?
I don't.
Can I ask one really quick question? I think you explained this. The neighborhood maintenance that's right in between, it's right above the cemetery, the small little bit there. How come I assume that's existing residential and that's why we left it residential?
It is a cemetery.
Oh, the whole thing is a cemetery?
Yes. So you're talking about along Reynolds Road there in the middle of the blue, right?
Yes.
Yes. It is a cemetery, and so we put it in residential policy.
Okay.
Oh, no, those are residential, right. So let me explain just really quickly. So right here, right?
Oh, you can't see that.
Oh, I thought she could on her screen. No,
No.
not even on her screen.
Right along Reynolds Road. And
Reynolds, yes. So what happened was when the industrial was developed that's in the blue, they don't access Reynolds Road. And so the folks along Reynolds wanted to stay residential, and I didn't fully understand that till I went out there and then saw that the industrial's back off the road. And so that way you'll see that band of residential going on the other side of Reynolds Road too, like in front of the industrial. And so that was to recognize that the industrial does not access Reynolds. That industrial is coming around and accessing through the other streets to closer to the airport.
Please.
So there's no current land that's going from industrial to residential with this policy? Not zoning, but just as a policy?
That is going from industrial zoning to residential.
Yeah.
No.
I got it. Okay.
No.
Are there any further questions?
Just so, and to clarify one thing, this is not changing any zoning. It's changing land use policy. So it is not a zone change, yeah.
Now I want to clarify, there is one industrial zone property up along Pulley that is in residential policy, but they have industrial zoning today.
Commissioner Leslie.
Now, so this is just a policy. I'm thinking about this gentleman. He thinks that if this policy is enacted, that will affect his value of his property. Will it?
So we are not the sort of the department that makes determinations on value of property. I think the value of the property is generally not based on land use policy, but would be based on use of the land. And so if property is vacant, then the way that it is appraised is based on the use of the land. The zoning may play into sort of market value, but in this case, this is not changing zoning.
So I guess following up on that, if someone came in and wanted to do, I mean, if we adopt this change, if someone comes in with a project that at that point was not consistent with policy, they would have to apply for a policy change along with the zone change or whatever they did. But in light of kind of the understanding of this area, don't you think that's something that staff would take into consideration given the kinds of uncertainties that are in the future for this area?
I think so. Absolutely. Like today, I think if someone proposed a rezoning that was higher density residential or industrial in one of these residential areas, they would face just as much opposition from residents today as they would to have this policy discussion at the same time, in other words.
Any further questions, commissioners? If not, then I need a motion. Sorry, sir, the commissioners have to make that. No, sir. Sir. What? Oh, that's, okay. Yes. Do I have a motion? Sir, we're going to have to ask you to leave if you can't let the meeting proceed, okay?
I make a motion to approve staff recommendation.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I understand from Lisa that perhaps there's been a change with item 14. Is that correct?
Yes. The staff reviewer spoke to the gentleman that had raised his hand on item number 14. I believe he's actually the applicant. He's not opposed.
Okay.
And so we can put that item back on consent.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, hold on just a second, council member.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can put that item back on consent.
Okay, great. So if as long as there is support from the commissioners, I'll need a motion to put item 14 back on the or onto the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, we'll put item 14 back on the consent agenda. And that takes us to item 21. Council Lady, are you,
I want it to be heard. 14's in my district.
oh, okay, you want to be heard even though it's on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's brief.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry I was late.
That's okay.
And forgive me if I'm out of order or whatever, okay?
That's okay.
All right. But I know 14, 16, 20, and I believe they were all on consent. 5, I know I support fully, but I just wanted you all to know as to 14, 16, 20, anything in District 1, I request a meeting before the community. Some items were not able, some people were not able to make it. And even though you did your consent or whatever and it moves, I will not be carrying it any further. I won't be doing the rezoning or whatever is required of me, except for 5. They appeared and the community appeared to seem to be in support. I've spoken with the person on 14 who also appeared, but I just let him know at this time, it's just some little tweaks he might need to make and appear again before the community. But as to 14, 16, and 20, 16 and 20 did not appear. But 14 might need to appear again. But he said he's ready to go forward, and that's fine. I just want it to be known that I'm not going to carry anything that the community has not supported. So that's it. And for 16 and 20, let's just say a little announcement. You all doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I think that takes us to item 21.
Yes, I'm going to the slides.
Okay. No worries. I like your new template for the very fancy.
It looks good,
It does
right?
look good.
Thanks. We're rolling it out this time.
I thought it might be a special item, but no.
They're always going to look like this now. Yeah. New logo.
Very nice.
That's right.
Okay, hello. Good evening. I'm here again, Olivia Rancine, with Community Plans to present item 2023 CP 007-002. And this item was heard at the August 24th MPC meeting, and the public hearing was closed. And today I'm going to provide an abbreviated version of my slides, and then I can answer any questions that y'all have, and I'll also provide an update. Okay, so the request was to amend the West Nashville Community Plan to change policy. Staff recommends approval of the policy application and the supplemental policy, which will limit building height to 4 stories within the study area 1, which is that purple area right here. All right, and the request here is going from neighborhood evolving and neighborhood maintenance to T4 mixed use neighborhood. This is going from neighborhood evolving and neighborhood maintenance to neighborhood center. Oh, wait, my cursor's not there. Okay, so here's some background. The current policies, the majority are T4 neighborhood evolving with some T4 neighborhood maintenance. They were applied in 2011 prior to Nashville Next passage in 2015. When these policies were assigned in 2011, there were only a few small parcels that included mixed-use policy designations, despite the neighborhood already containing a mix of commercial, industrial, and residential use. Since 2011, there have been 2 mixed-use policy amendments, one that supports the townhome development and the other for the Breeze Block project. Both were developer-driven. During her tenure, former Councilmember Roberts observed these changes, and in the fall of 2022, requested that the community plans team study and proposed a more cohesive strategy for a mixed-use walkable development along this important neighborhood street. So using current land use as a guide, staff initially recommended urban mixed-use corridor for the entirety of the Robertson Avenue corridor, with mixed-use neighborhood policy for the Duluth and Vernon area at the November 2022 neighborhood meeting. Following the initial meeting in November of 2022, staff provided several revisions of the policy and used public input to guide the revisions. Staff presented at 3 neighborhood meetings and 1 meeting of the development committee. During these meetings, some members of the public expressed concern for the increased height and density allowed under the policy, impacts on traffic, and dislike of apartments, short-term rentals, and larger mixed-use projects. Others readily expressed support for more walkable amenities and to allow the community to evolve. Community members also voiced and expressed support for a more condensed mixed-use policy area and park activation via mixed-use development. So community ideas and concern guided the policy revision process. As you can see here, staff switched the recommended policy from T4 Urban Mixed-Use Corridor to T4 Urban Mixed-Use Neighborhood and T4 Urban Neighborhood Center in order to address density and height concerns. Staff also condensed the study area by 30 acres and focused on capturing existing commercial and industrial uses and surrounding properties. Staff extended policy to Charlotte Park to foster park activation. Staff have also added a supplemental policy that caps height at 4 stories for study area 1, that larger area, in order to address public concerns. The application of T4 mixed-use neighborhood allows for a variety of housing along with low-rise commercial and mixed use. T4 neighborhood center, which is applied in that smaller application where Robertson meets Briley, allows mixed-use residential and commercial uses. So applying T4 mixed-use neighborhood along with the supplemental policy capping height at 4 stories and T4 neighborhood center policies helps expand neighborhood scale mixed-use opportunities, fosters a complete community, which is a principle of Nashville Next, enables existing commercial and industrial properties to become mixed-use developments that can better serve the neighborhood, activates Charlotte Park, and supports public and private investment. And this, while we had a public hearing and the commissioners discussed this at our last meeting, it was deferred. And so I wanted to provide additional information today. So at the August 24th meeting, the Planning Commission directed staff to explore ways to increase connectivity for pedestrians in transit and to further evaluate the study area. To answer this request, we want to emphasize that staff spoke with NDOT several times prior to the August 24th, 2023 meeting, and NDOT emphasized that sidewalks and other bike and ped improvements will likely come through redevelopment. As stated at the August 24th MPC, Robertson Avenue is not prioritized in walk-bike Nashville plans, but additional households could help improve the area's prioritization for improvements. Finally, while Robertson Avenue does not have a bus stop, the WeGo link offers a reusable voucher for rideshare to the closest bus station to the neighborhood. Additional population in the area could help support a bus stop within the neighborhood in the future. So that's just the update that I wanted to provide. All right, so staff recommends approval of this policy amendment and supplemental policy. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm just confirming the public hearing was closed.
Yes, that's right.
This case is coming back to me. I know we had a lot of public input at the meeting back in August. So for the new commissioners, our policy is generally, once we've closed the public hearing, unless there's some material change, we don't generally reopen the public hearing. But that is within the commissioner's purview to decide if there's a reason that we feel we should reopen it. Otherwise, we'll proceed that the public hearing is closed and it will be open to commissioners' deliberation. So if any commissioners feel strongly either way. If not, Commissioner Henley, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you for recognizing me. Well, when I want to speak to...
Hold on one second. Sorry. You good, Lee? Okay.
No, it's good. What I wanted to speak to, I do think, and I reviewed my notes on this just because I knew we were going to have to update. I think the objective from what a lot of the members of the community were saying was to, yes, create walkability, yes, invite or encourage development, particularly mixed-use development, but to do so with a certain with a certain level of control on the reins. And I think that the supplemental policy with the height, I think really met that. I still thought that maybe a little bit more of Robertson Pike made sense, but it's not my community, it's theirs, and so of course our job is to listen to that. But I am a big fan of it, kind of facing the Charlotte Park. The private sector ultimately has to deliver on that activation. But I do think with the type of engagement we got from the community, I think we've created the policy to allow for that to happen. So I'm quite supportive of it. I do like that the neighborhood center in Study Area 2 remains. I went and drove through it. I think it does need somewhat of a gateway in that community. I think, nothing helps to build activity, like adding, a kind of a bookend of interest there. So I personally feel really good about it. I like that we, again, did create the time. I think the community asked for more time to have more input and engagement. And so, again, I appreciate staff's work and I support the recommendation.
Lisa, did you have something further you wanted to touch on?
So I was checking the meeting minutes to confirm that everyone was at the public hearing. And so Councilmember Gamble was not on the commission at that time. And then given when she was appointed, so she wasn't at the public hearing, so she will not be able to participate in the conversation or vote on the item. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Clifton, you are eligible to discuss.
I remember this was heavily discussed last time, and I think really, and I remember being in favor of postponing it a little bit, but the main reason wasn't the arguments that were made or whether or not it didn't make sense, but that it was just sort of at that nexus between council members who, it sounds to me like, have been in full agreement anyway. Both of those folks have. I think the delay has served a purpose for us to kind of get more comfortable with it all, and essentially I agree with what you've just been talking about, so I'm prepared to support this.
Commissioner?
Thank you. So likewise, listening to the previous meetings and the debate that we had, and then the new council person coming in, and I believe he said he met with over 1,000 citizens since coming on board. So sounds like the community has discussed this and have come to this type of an agreement. So I'm in support as well of the amendment.
Thank you, Commissioner Marshall. Commissioner Leslie?
I support the recommendation.
Okay. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was absent at the August 24th meeting, but I wanted to let you know I watched the video and I really appreciate public comment and your robust question. So having said that, I just want to make sure, because this is a policy change, it's not a zoning change. But I wanted to kind of, ask question to staff. Olivia, you have been doing a great job. So I thought this was very interesting because chunk of the area is IR and some good chunk has CS zoning. So those zoning, regardless of the policy, current T4 neighborhood evolving or neighborhood maintenance, I think pretty much neighborhood evolving. If IR or CS, they could develop as within the land use, within the IR. So even it says CS, they can develop commercial development even though a policy is T4 neighborhood evolving, correct?
You are correct. Yeah, so they would just have to go under the current zoning. But if they wanted a different zoning, that's when they would have to fall under T4 neighborhood evolving.
So only change will happen if from T4 neighborhood evolving to T4 mixed use. If they are to apply for the zone change, they could, is there any difference of what they can do from current policy to mixed use policy? Any height or appearance or scale or anything different?
Yeah, so if they're going to apply for a rezoning.
No, not without applying for
Without
zone
applying
change.
for a rezoning. So if they're doing a commercial development, I guess the main difference here is that with the mixed use policy, you could do a mixed use development and have residential and commercial uses coincide. And both if the MUN and MUL categories that are listed under T4 mixed use neighborhood, we would state are more neighborhood scale than commercial. But under the current CS zoning, it depends how much frontage you have along an arterial or collector street as to whether you could potentially get residential units. So it really depends on the location of the site, but technically residential units wouldn't be allowed unless certain conditions were met. So you could only do commercial.
That was a good summary. I wanted to add that for commercial zoning, CLCS, those don't have a maximum height. They have a height control plane, and so sort of the bigger that a property is, the taller you can be. Think about it as you move in from the edges, as you get further away from property lines, you can go up in height, and there is no maximum. So it sort of depends on the size of the lots, but some of the zoning districts that are supported by the mixed use neighborhood, and then of course with the additional supplemental policy, there would be additional guidance on the height.
Sure. So yeah, definitely with that sense, having new T4 mixed use policy with a supplement policy controlling the height seems like it achieved what neighborhood is wanting. And I think my little concern was, south of the Robert Avenue, it has a chunk of a neighborhood residential zoning, but policy change does not automatically trigger the zone change. So, and zone change will be literally guided by community and council member. So it is, what resonates me is a neighborhood wanted to have 12 Sylvan Park feeling, not 12 South. So I think what they meant is they don't want to have development after development after development. Instead, have nice mixed-use development surrounded by neighborhood, such as in Sylvan Park, that's the case. But I think community and council member can definitely have control over what kind of development will be appropriate in that strip, because to achieve that, all this residential zoning has to come to zone change. Without that, mixed use cannot be achieved. So with that policy and zone, I do support this staff recommendation.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Tibbs? Okay, Commissioner Smith.
I think it's a good policy. Thank you, staff, for being flexible with it after your meetings, and thank you, council member, for reaching out to constituents. I'm ready to support.
Okay, well, then we are ready for a motion. Commissioner Henley.
Yes, I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of our items. So we switch to our other business, and I always forget the order. The first is the historic zoning report.
We actually have an odd item number 31.
Oh, okay.
So this one wasn't on consent. I just need to
sorry.
give you a little bit of a explainer on this
Okay.
one. So at the September 28th meeting, you all deferred case 2014 SP 050002 to the December 7th, Planning Commission meeting. There is no December 7th Planning Commission meeting. We made a typo on our staff report, so that should have been to the December 14th. So we just need you all to make a new motion so that that item gets placed on the correct agenda. We've reached out to the applicant. We will get the minutes updated. You'll adopt amended minutes at the next meeting, but we'll just need a new motion to get that item deferred to the proper meeting.
So moved.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we are on to our other items and historic zoning.
Yes, I do have very exciting announcement. Past Monday, we had first graduation ceremony of Citizens Historic Preservation Academy. That is a new program. We kind of enlisted and opened the application for the citizens who are interested in learning of local historic zoning, Secretary of Interior Standard, and historic style design and research project and incentives for rehabilitation and design and local and state partnership program. So we had 14 citizens participated starting September 11th till October 23rd, 6 weeks program. So they are very enthusiastic and they represented what they learned in the 6 weeks program. Also, I am pleased to announce that Mayor O'Connell, Trustee Gilmore was there, and as well as a couple of new council members. So it was so wonderful to see because our job is preservation and growth. So preservation is as important as, encourage the growth as well. So that's very exciting news. And also the segue to Commissioner Henley. Last month, we had Metro Park staff came to Historic Zoning Board and applied for a new plan for a pavilion and historic, what they call, Croquet Clubhouse renovation. So the Centennial Park has really wonderful renovation, and I'm looking forward to the completion.
Well, I will say this: since we've been a few moments since we were last together, there's been a lot of activation of our parks. I think as we kind of enter the fall, so just really excited to see all the reports that are coming in. A lot of the activities happening in the parks. A lot of park projects that are having ribbon cuttings and openings, and so just it's really exciting to just see the disbursement and the diversity of activation across our city and parks. And since I was last with you all, I have had the chance to chair my first acquisitions committee, which is another part of my role as a member of the Parks Board. So I'm officially earning my stripes. I've done kind of all the duties there, showing up at celebrations and all the sorts. So I'm enjoying that, and again, appreciate being able to represent our board, our commission in that seat.
Well, we appreciate you doing it. Next is the executive committee report, and I don't think we have much. I will say there was discussion of a work session before our next meeting. I haven't seen a follow-up to that.
Yes, Lisa and I were just trying to confirm tonight during the meeting, but we did a poll of commissioners, and I think we have enough commissioners that are able to attend a special planning commission work session on November 9th. It'll be at 3 p.m. before the regularly scheduled 4 p.m. meeting here. And we'll confirm those details and the location. But the focus of that special work session is for staff to present an update on draft compact development standards. So these are some new zoning text amendments that we've been evaluating over the last several months that we like to present to you. And then that would still follow. We'd have a public hearing that would still follow at the regularly scheduled meeting on that item, which I believe would be on the same agenda that same day.
November 9th.
November 9th. So you'll get kind of a deeper dive during the work session on compact development standards at 3 p.m. And then at the regularly scheduled 4 p.m. meeting, it would still be a public hearing and we'll give an abbreviated, regular size, 10 minutes or less presentation at that meeting.
Great.
And then just also, over the next couple planning commission meetings, we are working on a number of other important initiatives. And so you might see an occasional presentation from staff at the regularly scheduled planning commission meetings over the next few sessions. And we're trying to do that to avoid asking you all to attend any other special work sessions. So we want to be cognizant and respectful of your time.
Thank you. Last but not least, we put our new commissioner on the on the mic. Any updates on the legislative agenda?
Not at this time. I will be meeting with planning Lucy Kemp and hopefully Diana Alarcon with NDOT soon to talk about what kind of updates or progress we've made with infrastructure and how that might relate to any future discussions about Nashville Next review and update and any zoning code changes we might look at for the future.
Okay,
but at this time, no updates at this time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And with that, I will see if we have a motion to adjourn. All right, we are adjourned, and we'll see you on November 9th.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.